Atheist Junior.
Oh, hi. I thought you were talking to Mia.
No.
Okay. So, yeah, so basically, I'm sure you've had discussions with theists about the problem of evil, like how can a loving God create a universe uh, and humans, and then just sit by as the Holocaust happens and not lift a finger to stop it, and sit through 7 seasons of Young Sheldon and he doesn't stop it. But what I'm
It's a
wondering is,
young
like,
Sheldon and he won't stop it.
as atheists, like how do we parse a universe that isn't created but still has people doing evil things to each other, like facing evil without an appeal to cosmic justice? Like, do you think that that's like kind of a depressing thing, or maybe actually empowering because we have to prevent evil and not wait for divine intervention? We have to hold each other accountable, or
I think that's so much more better. Yeah, because there's uh I think there are multiple angles to this, but people that I don't think anybody actually, although huge numbers of religious people I know say this, I don't think any of them act like it. Like I could go on my Facebook right now and see several people saying, "Well, I'm just going to trust it all to God because he has a
uh-huh.
plan." And it's like, "Okay, then go lay in your bed, don't move and see what happens." So nobody actually thinks that way. Although I think it does I think some people do like literally convince themselves to not uh take up better habits perhaps or whatever because of that trust they have. I think there probably is some deleterious consequences for some people because of that, but nobody takes that to its logical conclusion, which is okay. Then sit there and do nothing. Then, if that's what you think is going to happen, um, so there there's that. I feel that way all the time, and then there's also like the I don't know. So much of the oh well, if there's no God, then how do you blah blah blah. I most of the time, what I want to throw back at them is just some version of all you're doing is sitting here telling me if there's no master, whose slave will I be? And it's like, what kind of way to exist is that? Like, good for you if you want to. Like, that's a fucking like S&M relationship. And like, good for you, but chains and whips don't excite me. I'd rather not.
Yeah, you mentioned people talking about God's plan, and it just makes me think of the Joker quote about, nobody panics if there's a plan, even if the plan is horrific. Like it's like no matter what happens, it's oh well, this my loved one died. That's part of God's plan. Well, couldn't he have made the plan where my 3-year-old didn't get leukemia? Like, uh,
Yeah.
and I've had theists accuse me of not having meaning in my life without God, but my reply is always that I think the fact that there's not an afterlife gives this life more meaning because you
It's the
only get
most
one shot
meaningful
at it.
possible thing. But what they said right there is just a perfect example. It's like, okay, you want your meaning dictated to you by something that, like, that's just, yes, master. I will do thy bidding. Yes, master. That's all that is. And it's creepy.
I'm like, I want to ask them, like, do you have a safe word with God? Like, you know,
Yeah.
they really need one. Um, and the existence of evil is sort of a challenge to theism. But atheists don't really face a contradiction between evil and all-powerful, all-good God. I'm wondering how God can be all good and loving when He chose to kill 99% of the life of humans on Earth, not by snapping His fingers and killing them painlessly, but by killing them in probably one of the worst ways to die there is, by drowning. Uh, that's that usually if you love somebody, I'm not going to drown them that's something that happens when like mothers have postpartum depression. It's not something you do because you're loving your children. It's something that a tyrant does because God's bloodthirsty in the Old Testament.
Yeah, I mean, typically they just retreat to God's the author of life so he can take it in any way he sees fit or whatever. It's like, okay, how does that logically follow at all? It doesn't. So I don't know. And neither do
Yeah.
they.
Yeah, well, I don't know if you have other people waiting, but I really enjoyed getting the chance to talk to you, so thank you for taking the time.
You're welcome.